Hello and welcome. Today our theme is on balancing and grounding, balancing our energy. So grounding is about being centered, being present, being in the moment, feeling stable, feeling secure. And when we're in the moment, when we're grounded, when we feel that sense of being really here and now, we feel a lot more energy. Or the potential is that we can feel a lot more energy because stress takes a lot of energy. Tension in the body takes a lot of energy. So when we can let that go a little bit, connect to the earth, then we start to feel that rebound energy of the earth coming back up to give us a little bit of a lift and a little bit of lightness. So it's about balancing energy. We will do a little bit of balancing on our feet, but really it's about balancing our energy and finding that weighing between balance, between grounding and lifting. So that's our goal, our theme today. We're going to start on the ground, so you can meet me on the mat on the ground. So you're going to lie down on your back to begin with. And when you come to lie on your back, bring your knees bent and bring your feet to the floor. Let your hands come to rest on your body somewhere. And take a moment to notice what parts of your body are making contact with the earth. And perhaps engaging in a feeling of dropping into that support. So notice your shoulders and upper arms where they rest on the ground, and have a feeling of letting go of any effort there. And dropping into the back of the head. Feeling the weight of your pelvis. And dropping into the feeling of your feet on the earth. Notice if you're holding tension in your jaw, your face, your shoulders. Check in with your belly. You're not holding the belly tight. Softening through the belly as you exhale. Feel a sense of dropping into the earth. So we want to feel grounded without feeling like we're lethargic. So that sense of dropping into the earth, but maintaining a sense of expansion and openness at the same time, so that we're alert and awake, yet we're relaxed and grounded. And you're just letting the hands rest on the belly to feel a little bit of movement with your breath. And then we'll start to add a little bit of subtle movement to play around with the relationship of the body to the ground. So now as you exhale, you're going to put a little more pressure into your feet until you feel your tailbone lift a little and your lower back flatten. And then you'll relax as you inhale. You can exaggerate the little space under your back as you inhale, making a bit more arch if you like. And then exhale, press into your feet, flatten the lower back. And again, inhale and exhale, and follow that same pattern for a few more breaths. We're really just pressing into the feet on the exhale to drop the lower back, but you might feel that your whole body rocks a little bit with that motion. So everything is connected and ripples out from that movement. We'll spend the first bit of class exploring the relationship of the body to the ground from this position lying on the back. And so next we'll take the hands to the sides, to the floor. And as you breathe in, you'll take the arms and lift them up. The back will naturally arch as you do that. And then as you exhale, you're going to bring your hands to the ground, press down into the hands and feet. So inhaling, creating some length. Exhaling, flattening into the low back. This happens naturally with the movement of the arms. You might exaggerate just a little bit to really feel that relationship between your body and the ground. So next we'll work with the right leg. As you bring the arms down, you're going to bring the right knee in towards your body. You'll feel the lower back get even more released into the ground. And then as you inhale, take the arms overhead, take the leg and stretch it on the ground, and the back will naturally arch. And then you'll exhale to bring it in, and inhale to extend. So feeling the movement of the pelvis and the relationship of the low back and the pelvis to the ground. And then holding that knee, relaxing the shoulders. And then you can extend the left leg straight out on the ground. And you're going to press down into that left heel until you feel your left leg really active. So toes point to the ceiling, heel on the ground, and see if you can feel a line of energy from the back of your heel all the way up the back of your leg to your sit bone, which is just at the bottom of the pelvis. And we'll bring a little more awareness to that later. We're feeling that long line of engagement up the back of the leg. And then you can do a little bit of movement for the right hip, some circles or side to side. Just inviting some movement into that hip. You can keep one hand on the knee or pass the knee from hand to hand, keeping the left leg active. And then we'll take the right foot to the floor. Extend your arms overhead with the left leg straight. Take a breath in. And as you exhale, left knee comes into the chest. You'll feel the lower back flatten toward the ground. And you'll repeat that, inhaling, arms up, leg out. Exhaling, knee to chest, hands around the knee. And then holding that knee in and extend the other leg. Press down into the right heel, and again, feel that long line of engagement up the back of the leg. And you can do some movement with your left hip, circling or side to side. Again, it could be one hand on the knee or moving the knee from one hand to the other. And then you'll come back to the center, reestablish that connection with your left heel down. And then we'll take the left foot to the floor, sorry, right heel down, left foot to the floor. Inhale and lift the arms up. And exhale, bring the right knee in again. And we'll do a little movement to stretch the back of that leg. So when the leg was on the ground, we were engaging from the heel to the sit bone. And now we want to gently stretch that line. So you can keep your hands on the back of the leg or let go as you bend the knee in and straighten the leg toward the ceiling. If you want to coordinate your breathing, exhale as you bend in, inhale as you stretch up. The leg doesn't have to come straight as you stretch it. You're looking for a feeling of engagement through or length through the back of the leg. And then you can leave the leg extended, circle your ankle around. And notice where you feel that movement through the shin, through the calf, through the thigh, wherever it feels, wherever you feel sensation. Circling one way, the other way. Great. And then pressing the heel toward the ceiling. If you like, you can hang on to the leg. If you have a belt handy, you might use a belt to hold your foot if that's easier. And then try extending the other leg on the ground. So left leg on the ground, right leg straight up. Your left leg is pressing down into the earth while your right heel reaches up. So you may feel the stretch in the upper leg and engagement through the back of the thigh, the front of the thigh of the leg on the ground. In fact, whenever we open the back of the leg, we're also engaging the front of the leg to make that happen. Think about squaring the hips. So there's a tendency to pull the right hip up here. Think about reaching it down towards the far end of your mat. One more breath. And then bend the knee, bring that foot to the floor. We'll take the arms overhead, taking a breath in, and then exhaling, bringing the left knee in. And again, we'll stretch up with a breath in, release. As you exhale, you can hold the leg or not for this one. Again, looking for just a mild stretch in the back of the leg. We're not looking for a big, intense, engaged stretch. Just warming things up, bringing yourself into a bit of extension and then back to flexion, or growing the leg, feeling the stretch, and then releasing. And then you can stay for a few breaths, again, holding or not, as you circle the ankle. And again, notice the feeling of sensation in the leg, the ankle, wherever you notice it. And then again, we'll extend the opposite leg, so the right leg now. Again, if you need the leg to move further away and you can't quite reach, that's fine. You can bend the knee a little even if you like, or use a belt if you've got one handy. And then you're pressing down into the right heel to feel that whole leg active and engaged. As you press that heel down, you might feel your stomach muscles engage, the lower back lengthen, and then reaching up with the opposite heel, growing the back of that leg long. And again, think about that left hip reaching down towards the far end of your mat. And there's a little bit of internal rotation in that hip. And then let's bend the knee. We'll bring the foot to the floor. Take your arms overhead with a breath in. And then exhale, bending the right knee as well. So bring both feet, heels underneath the knees. The arms can rest on the ground a little bit away from your body or right in close. Palms down, a little bit away, palms up. Whatever's more comfortable for your shoulders as we work with bridge. So we're going to leave the arms on the ground and let the arms be really grounded, feeling that connection to the earth. There's no effort for the arms here. And then as we lift, we're going to take several breaths. We'll start by pressing into the feet. And you can lift the spine one vertebra at a time, coming up. Take as many breaths as you like to lift. And then you'll slowly release, lower down. Feel the ground and the relationship of your spine to the ground as you lift and lower. So you're pressing first into the feet, peeling the spine up, feeling as the vertebrae leave the ground, and then rolling back down. Continue a couple more at your own pace. Try to keep your shoulders, neck, face, jaw relaxed. Feeling that little bit of rebound, lifting, expanding, and then releasing and lowering. You can lift up and stay for a few breaths this time. And to engage the back of the legs a little more where we've been working today, do this very gently, pulling the heels towards the shoulders on the ground. And you'll feel the buttocks engage, the thighs engage. Keep relaxing through the neck, shoulders, jaw, and face. Let the legs be strong and grounded. Notice if your feet have rolled out, you might lower the hips a little bit and let the feet be really grounded through the big toe, baby toe side of the foot and both sides of the heel, both sides of the balls of your feet. Knees over your ankles. And then when you're ready, you're going to slowly release back to the earth. And draw your knees in toward your chest. One hand on each knee. And again, we'll explore the relationship of the body to the ground, starting with the knees as far away as you can without letting go, and then drawing the knees in toward your chest. So moving the knees away and drawing the knees in. If you want to coordinate your breathing, inhale as you move the knees away, and exhale as you bring the knees towards you. And notice how your weight shifts on the ground as you do this movement. Right? And then you can bring the knees into the chest and explore a little side-to-side movement, or maybe some circles. Again, staying connected and tuned into the relationship of your body to the ground. Notice where the ground massages your back, the back of your hips and pelvis as you do this movement. You can circle one way and then the other. And then giving the knees a hug. Hold for a couple of breaths. Feel the length of your spine on the ground. And then as you're ready, you can bring your feet to the floor. And let the arms come out to the sides, let the legs stretch out as long as that's comfortable for you, or you can certainly keep the knees bent. Close your eyes for a moment and feel your body. Notice the lower body, the legs, the heels dropping into the earth. Notice any sensations that are present from the hips, down the legs to the feet, the area that we've done most of the work with so far. Checking in and noticing what's present. What are you aware of? And could you drop the feet, drop the legs a little more heavily into the support of the earth? Let the breath deepen a little bit now, getting ready to move on. Feel the inhalation expanding the body. So balancing that downward feeling energy of grounding, working with the exhale with an opening and expanding feeling of the inhale. We're going to make our way to all fours, so you can come upright in whatever way works for you. Usually the easiest way without creating strain for the body is to roll to one side. Use your opposite hand and draw yourself upright. We'll come, as I said, to all fours. And as you come down or come up to all fours, you want to find your hands grounded under your shoulders. You can spread the fingers a little bit, press into the heels of the hands, the fingertips. If it's comfortable for your wrist, you can also press into the bases of your fingers, or you might keep the hands a little bit more in a dome shape to spread the weight out over the fingertips and the heels of your hands. And then knees underneath the hips. And your feet can be flat behind you, or if it's more comfortable for your feet, you'll tuck your toes under. So we'll come to a little arch, bending the elbows, letting the chest come forward, tail lifts. And then as you exhale, you can round the back, maybe add child's pose if that feels good for you. And then you'll be back up to all fours, keeping soft in the elbows. So there's a tendency to kind of dump into the shoulders and lock the arms here. Want to press into the hands, keep the elbows soft, and continue at your own pace. If it's comfortable for you, we'll come to child's pose with the knees a little apart. If it's better for you with the knees together, that's fine. And if child's pose is a challenge for your ankles or your knees, you might keep your hips a little higher and just come onto the forearms, give your wrists a bit of a break. If it's comfortable to have your hips back towards your heels, you can let the belly move between your thighs and the head comes to either rest on the ground or on your hands. And as you rest here, feel what's on the ground, legs, arms, maybe your head. And soften and relax into that support. So feel yourself dropping into the earth with child's pose. And then see if you can bring awareness of the breath moving into the lower back, moving into the back of the hips, maybe upper back. So this feeling of expansion in the back of your body. Let the belly relax toward the ground, especially if the knees are apart. You can feel the belly expanding and dropping, relaxing and softening. And then we're going to make our way back up to all fours. And we'll come back to the cat-cow or moving from all fours to child's pose again. If you're feeling a little more energetic this morning and you want to add in downward dog, you can come into that pose on an exhale. Moving back to all fours with an inhale. Maybe back to child's pose. So as we warm up, keeping things moving, eventually you might, if you've chosen to come into downward dog, you might stay a few breaths and walk your feet in place. And then we'll come on down to all fours. Sit on your heels for a moment and do a few circles to release the wrists. Give them a little shake, whatever needs to happen. And if your wrists get strained, you can always be up on fists with your thumbs pointing forward. So for the next one, we'll come back to all fours and we're going to extend one leg back behind. So you're going to take your toes to the ground and then we'll lift that leg up. And you want to lift the leg without rolling and turning the hip or without turning the leg to the side. So the toes point straight down. There's levelness across your hips. So again, that right hip or whichever leg you're lifting is not, the hip is not lifting also. And then we want to engage the glutes to lift the leg a little higher and a little lower. So a little higher, a little lower. So again, if the hip starts to turn out or the toes turn out as you lift, then don't lift quite as high. So you want to feel the muscles straight in the back of the leg from sit bone to the knee, the hamstrings engaging. You can hold a little higher as long as that's comfortable for you to feel that line of engagement. Keep your foot flexed, toes down, hips level. Good. And then we'll bring that knee in. Again, if you like, you can take a break for your wrists so that you don't strain. And then we'll go as you're ready to the other side. So taking the leg out, toes point down. And again, you can lift a little, lower a little, lift a little, lower a little, trying to keep the hips level. There's almost an internal rotation in the thigh again, because there's a tendency to externally rotate. So we're just working against that. If you like, you can hold the leg where you feel the engagement, hips level. Take a few breaths here. Feeling that engagement through the hamstrings. Great. And then you'll bring that knee down. And you can do a few circles here with the hips or go back to the cat-cow if you like. Right. And then again, you can come to rest in child's pose either with the knees apart or together. And again, you could be up on your forearms if that's more comfortable, letting the head release down, or you could allow the head to rest on the hands or on the ground. So we'll try that same movement again. And for those of you who are comfortable in downward dog and you want to challenge yourself a little bit more, you can try the same thing, lifting up in downward dog. So from here, so if downward dog isn't so comfortable for you, just do the same thing as we did on all fours. Otherwise, you can lift up to downward dog. I'm going to keep a little bit of bend in your knees and length through the upper body. And then you'll take one leg back and lift it straight up again. Toes point down, a little internal rotation, and again, the hips stay level. So you're not rolling out to the side, but staying even. And then you can reach up and back with that leg. You'll now feel the engagement of the upper leg and the stretch in the standing leg. And then you can switch sides. If you need to come down in between, feel free to do so. Again, you might want to give your wrists a little bit of a break. We're almost done on hands and with the weight on the hands now. So if you have one more in you, you can come back up to downward dog. If you've chosen downward dog, you can come up onto your toes to bend your knees, and that will help lengthen your spine. And then take the other leg and extend it back. Again, level through the hips, reaching through the heel. Good, and breathing. Good, and then bring that foot down. And knees down. And you'll come back to cat-cow or all fours to child's pose. I apologize for that interruption. I'm not sure where that sound was coming from, but I do think it was on my end. So we're going to make our way to a standing forward bend. If you were comfortable with downward dog, you can come back to downward dog. If not, you could just step your feet under you, or from downward dog, stepping or walking your feet to your hands. So either way, you're going to end up in that standing forward bend. Bring your hands to your shins, come about halfway up with a breath in, looking for a little bit of extension, and then exhale, release forward. Come all the way up, breathing in, and then exhale to let the arms release down. So coming to mountain pose, let's bring in a little bit of little wardrobe adjustment there, bring in a little bit of visualization to feel the ground and the earth beneath us, and then that rebounding energy balancing of lifting up. So if it helps you, you might imagine any kind of plant or a tree. So the roots go down into the earth, and if we were a plant, our sort of just around the navel, a little below the navel, would be our earth, where the earth is, the earth level, and our legs would be the roots going down. And then our trunk would be like the trunk of a tree, lifting. The crown of the head, like the crown of the tree, expanding and opening. So if that visualization helps you, you could use that. Otherwise, you might just have the sense of your lower body really releasing into the earth while there's a bit of a rebound lifting up from the earth. Shoulders relax down. Weight is a little bit more in your heels. So as you let the weight drop into your heels more, the legs become firmer, the abdominal muscles slightly engage. So there's this whole back movement. So if we go from the side, when you bring your weight onto your toes, there tends to collapse in the lower back and throw the hips forward. As we bring the weight back into the heels, the hips come to rest over the heels, shoulders over the hips, and we have a much better alignment through the body for posture. So feeling that sense of going down through the feet, lifting through the upper body, and we can bring the breath into this visualization. So having a sense as you exhale that the weight goes down into the earth. You might feel that line from your sit bones to your heels lengthening down into the earth, like roots. And then with your inhale, feel a sense of lifting through the upper body. Exhale, going down. Inhale, lifting up. Exhale, feeling that downward energy. Inhale, a lift. If you like, you can close your eyes or just soften your gaze, soften your focus. So even as you exhale and drop down, don't lose your lift. And even as you inhale and lift up, don't lose your grounding. So there's a little tiny bit of the grounding in the lifting and a little tiny bit of lifting in the grounding. A little bit like that yin yang symbol, a little bit of black in white, a little bit of white in black. This grounded place, we'll do a little bit more work with the feet to open up some energy in the feet. So you can start by taking one foot forward and bending both knees. And the result will likely be a bit of stretch in the back ankle. Just a nice, easy opening up in the back ankle area. And then to move the stretch up into the calf a bit more, take the leg further back and bring your hands onto your front knee. So both feet are pointing straight forward. So we're not turning the back foot out like we would for warrior, so that we can really access straight up into the calf. If your heel is on the ground and you're not feeling much stretch, take the foot back a little further. So the heel might not even actually come to the ground. And then you'll step forward onto your front foot and you'll take the top of your foot that was back behind you and drop it down onto the earth. So feeling a sense that your leg is heavy, it's creating some stretch. Now, it's quite common that if your foot is not used to the stretch, which often we're not stretching in this way, you might feel a cramping in the arch of your foot. And if that's the case, you're just going to turn your toes over and press the heel forward. And then from here, we can do just that. Turn the toes down, press the heel forward. And then stepping onto the other foot, circle that ankle. And give it a shake. Right. And then we'll do the same thing with the other foot. So whichever foot was that you were just working with, you're going to have that foot forward, the other foot back, both feet pointing in the same direction and bending both knees to feel some stretch in the back ankle. From there, you can take the foot back a little further, reaching the heel toward the ground, hands to the front knee to feel some stretch a little higher up in the calf. And then stepping onto your front foot, take the back foot toes down, or top of the foot down, sorry, top of the toes, toenails. If you need to hold the wall or hold a chair or something here for balance, feel free to do that. Surprisingly, can be a bit tricky to balance here. And then you'll turn the toes down, press the heel forward, and then circle the ankle. One way and then the other. And give it a little shake. Right, and then bring that foot down. And again, come back to our mountain pose. Pick up your toes, spread them out a little bit, bring them down so there's a little bit of space between your toes. And again, come into the feeling of dropping into the heels at the same time lifting through the upper body. So let's work a little bit more with balance. So the next one, we'll take the arms overhead and lift the heels up off the ground, coming onto the balls of the feet and the toes. You're breathing in as you lift, and then exhale as you lower. As you lower, you can bend your knees, bring your hands to your thighs in Utkatasana, and then inhale, lift up. Exhale, come down and sit. Inhale and lift. So waking up the legs. This time bring the heels down and stay upright. And then we'll work on balancing on one foot a little bit. So we'll take the arms overhead, and as you exhale, bring one knee up. So you could keep the toes on the ground, or you could bring the knee right up into the chest or anywhere in between. And then you'll bring that foot down, inhale, lift up. Exhale, other side. So again, if you're feeling a bit wobbly, better to keep your toes on the ground and be here rather than lifting the leg and struggling to keep your balance. Good, one more each side. Right, and then coming back to mountain pose. Again, drop your weight into your heels. Take a moment to feel that release downward as you exhale. Lift up as you inhale. And again, that feeling of keeping a little lift as you exhale and go down. Keeping a little feeling of grounded as you inhale and lift up. So we'll work a little bit with warrior pose, a variation of warrior. If you have blocks and you want to use them, you can bring them toward the front of the mat. They would be helpful today. And if you don't have blocks, you might use a chair instead. So what you can do with your chair is just have it handy be on the front of your mat so it's not in your way when you bring your head forward. So take a breath in and come up. Good. Exhale, come into a forward bend. You can take your hands to your blocks or to the ground or even to the legs. And we'll step back with the right foot. Now, how far you step back is up to you. The further back you step, the more this pose becomes a little challenging, but we don't need a really big stance here, just something really nice and stable. So you'll come up with the breath in, you'll bend the front knee as you come up, and as you come up, you want to feel this engagement from your back hip down into your back heel. So you want to engage that leg, squeeze up through the thigh into the buttock, and then as you come forward, you'll move your front leg straighter. You can bring your hands to the block, or if you're using a chair, you could bring the hands to the chair. If you can reach the ground, great. And as we come forward, you want to feel the stretch down the back of the front leg from the heel to the hip, somewhere along there. And then think about squaring the hips a bit in that forward position. So the left hip moves a bit back, right hip moves a bit forward. You'll come up again with a breath in, engaging the back leg as you come up, stretching the front leg as you come forward. Press into the back heel, feel that engagement of the leg lifting you up. Press into the heel, don't lose that engagement, but find that length in the front leg as you come forward. Right, from here we're going to stay in the forward bend. And if you've got blocks, you can walk your blocks forward and start to lift the back leg. If you are using a chair, you can bring your hands onto the chair and again, lift the back leg. So we're rotating in just as we did on all fours. Toes point down, leg is flexed, and we're lifting until we feel that engagement. So now again, you'll feel the stretch in the standing leg, engagement in the back leg. And if you want a little more here, you can take the opposite arm. So if your right leg is up, your left arm will come out to the side and pause. And bring your hand down. I'll bring both feet side by side. Bend your knees. Inhale and lift. And exhale to release. So we'll do the same thing on the other side, taking a breath in, coming up. Exhale, fold forward. We'll step back with the left foot now. Bending the right knee, engaging the back leg to lift with the breath in. And then you'll move the front leg straighter to lengthen the back of that leg as you come forward. So inhaling, you're lifting. Engaging the back leg firmly. Exhale, moving the leg straight enough to feel a stretch in the back of the front leg, but not so much that it's a strain. So again, we'll come forward and stay. So again, you could either walk your blocks forward or bring your hands to a chair and lift the back leg. So there's a little internal rotation in the back hip to keep the hips level. Toes point down. You're lifting that leg without lifting the hip or twisting to the side. Holding here, feeling the engagement of the back leg lifting, the stretch of the front leg. And then you'll bring that foot down beside the other foot. Bend your knees. Inhale. Lift all the way up. And exhale to release down. Okay, come back to mountain pose. Feel the legs. Feel that long line of engagement from the sit bones to the heels and like roots going down through your heels. Feel that sense of deeply grounding into the earth. And at the same time, that rebound and lift through the upper body. Okay, let's bring the hands onto the hips and we'll practice doing a little balancing on one foot, but without being rigid and still. So often in yoga, we hold a pose as still as we can, but we're actually going to practice moving in balance. So you want to keep your feet grounded as much as possible so you're not hopping around. And bend and straighten the knees a few times. You want to feel soft in the knees. The more locked we are in the joints, the more difficult it is to balance. So when we're light and free and easy in the joints, our body will compensate for, a shift in the weight one way or another. So again, hands on the hips, just get them out of the way. You can come up onto the toes of one foot and find where you feel a little bit challenged by balance. So it might be with this foot on the ground, it might be with the foot up and touching down as you need it, or it may be lifted up right off the ground. And you're going to keep that standing leg soft and just start by going up and down a little bit and then start to move around. So feel your weight shift. You can move the leg forward, you can move it to the side, back behind you, and then maybe even take your arms and find balance in movement. Now, if you need to touch down at any point, go for it. It's not about being perfect, but about seeing how far we can throw ourselves off balance and still maintain some balance, even if we bring the foot down. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's try the other side. You can start with the hands on the hips, lift the foot, or keep the toes down, and then find some movement. Again, you might take the arms, let them help you counterbalance. So as the leg goes, the upper body automatically shifts to counterbalance. We don't have to calculate or do anything. If we're free, the body kind of knows where to find that balance. And if you've spent a lot of time being stiff in your life, it may be harder to balance because as you go one way, the body doesn't want to go and counterbalance. So it may take a little while of just loosening things up and finding that dynamic kind of balance. Keeping the knees soft is really key. So the more we hold the joints rigidly, the more we're likely to fall over. Where your gaze is important. So if you're looking all around the room, then you're probably less likely to stay balanced. You want to keep focused. All right, let's bring the hands to the hips again. This time we'll try a little more static balance. You're going to, again, keep the standing legs soft. Shift your weight to one foot, bring the other leg up. And then feel how the back leg engages. If you want to work a little harder, maybe I'll show you from the side. Instead of just having that knee bent, you could stretch the leg out. Try to do that without tucking your tail under, so the leg might be a little lower, that's fine. Feeling the engagement down the back of the standing leg. You'll feel the thigh and the hip flexors in the front leg. Good. Bring that leg down. And then other side. So you can bring the knee up first, and then maybe work on extending that leg. And breathing. So again, you don't want to tuck under. It's not about how high you lift the leg, but feeling that nice alignment right down into the standing leg. And then you can lower that leg, take the feet apart, and do a few circles to release the hips. You can go one way and then the other. Right, and then coming back to the center. You can keep the feet a little bit wider as they are. We'll take a breath in. Coming all the way up. Exhale, bend your knees, sweep down toward the ground. And then inhale, lift all the way up. Exhale, sweep down. Again, inhale. And this time when you come forward, if you like, you can stay a few breaths. So it could be a half forward bend with the elbows on the thighs, or you might want to release all the way forward for a few breaths. Right, and then coming all the way up. And exhale to release. So we're going to make our way back down to the ground. So you can, we'll end up on all fours. So you can get there however you want, or you can follow me, lifting the arms, coming forward, bringing the hands down and stepping back to downward dog. If you're happy here in downward dog, you might take a few breaths and walking the heels in place. We worked a lot to lengthen that line up the back of the legs, so you might feel it here. And then eventually making your way down to all fours. If there's any movement that would feel good here, you can do a cat-cow or circle the hips. Or maybe just stay in child's pose for a few breaths. Take your time with that movement, and whenever you're ready, we're going to make our way back onto the ground on our backs. So you can make your way there. If you're enjoying child's pose, stay a little longer if you like. Just take your time. And then when you come to the ground, come back to knees bent, hands on the body, somewhere around the belly where you can feel the breath. And come back to your breath. Exhale, a feeling of dropping into the earth. Inhale, a feeling of expansion, opening. Exhale, dropping down, letting go. Inhale, expanding. Take the arms now to the sides. And as you exhale, let both knees go together to one side. You can turn the head the opposite way. And then stay there as you inhale. And then exhale, come back to center. Stay in the center as you breathe in. And then exhale, go the other way. When you get there, stay and breathe in. And then exhale back to center. So the basic pattern is exhale when you're moving, inhale when you're stationary. So you're inhaling here, exhaling to the side, inhaling at the side, exhaling back to center. Inhaling center, and so on at your own pace. Eventually make your way back to the center. And we'll bring the knees into the chest, and we'll repeat that forward and back movement, inhaling knees away, exhaling knees in. Or if you like, you can extend the legs as you extend the arms behind you or out to the sides. You'll come up with the breath in and back into the body as you exhale. Inhaling, extending. Exhaling, contracting. And then holding the legs, any movement that would feel good. And then when you're ready, you can bring your feet to the floor and maybe stretch your legs out. Or if there's any other movement that would feel good before we take a few minutes to relax before the class ends, you can do a little movement. And then eventually finding your way to stillness. So you can stay lying down, legs bent or straight, hands on the body, hands on the ground. Doesn't matter, whatever's comfortable for you. Make sure you're warm enough. And from there, we'll make our way to a little guided relaxation to end the class. And certainly if lying on your back isn't comfortable for you for Shavasana, you could happily sit or choose another position. Sometimes lying on the side is more comfortable. And again, feel where your body makes contact with the ground. Have a sense of dropping into the earth as you exhale. But not losing that sense of expansion and opening with your inhale. So just like standing, we can keep a little bit of the feeling of expansion even as we feel contracted and dropping. We can keep a little bit of that dropping feeling as we inhale and expand. So following the breath in this way for a few more breaths. And feel the weight of your head on the ground. And let the muscles of your neck release to allow the head to be fully supported by the earth. Feel the forehead, the eyes, and the jaw release. Let go of any tension around the mouth, little lines around your mouth, even the tongue relaxing. Let the shoulders go. Feel where the shoulders meet the ground. Find that support and relax into that support. Feel your arms and your hands releasing. Letting the belly be soft with the breath and a feeling of dropping with each exhalation, but without losing that sense of expansion and lightness with the inhale. Dropping down through the torso, through the hips. Let the legs go from hips to knees, knees to ankles, ankles to feet. Exhale and drop down. When you inhale, keep that sense of connection to the earth, but maybe a little feeling of lift or expansion with your inhale. And exhale, deeply dropping down again. So finding that balance in your breath. And then let that go for now. Just be with no particular focus. Just letting the breath and the body be for a moment. And I'll share with you one tiny part of a longer chant that talks about the earth giving us stability in the body. And when we feel connected to the earth, we feel stable. We allow our hearts to open and feel connection to all that is. Om Prithvi me sharire shrita shariragum hridaye hridayam mahi aham amrite amritam brahmani. Om. Gradually shift your focus more to the inhalation, more to that sense of expansion, opening and lifting. Inviting a little more energy into the system, a little more expansion, a little more lift with that breath in. But again, don't lose that connection to the earth. Gradually add some movement. You can start with your fingers, toes, ankles, wrists. Eventually moving, stretching, and just coming into whatever kind of movement feels good for you. And again, if you want to stay in Shavasana a little longer, you can just ignore these instructions. And if you're ready to get on with your day, you might come back to sit. And take with you this idea of noticing when we've lost our connection to the ground and when we start to feel a little spun out in our heads. And focusing on the exhale and that sense of dropping into the earth, even bringing your awareness to what's on the earth at that moment can help to bring us back into our bodies and a little less in that spinning mind. Have a great day. Namaste.